Ben Masando, but my friends call me Ben. My family was originally from South Africa. We came here to Stuart, Florida in '92, and I grew up here, went to the schools to study. And when I started to go out into business, I wanted to meet some people. A mentor of mine, John Gonzalez, said, you should spend some time over there at then it was the Martin Arts. So I started here schlepping ice for Arts Fest, and then I slowly graduated up to the pinnacle here. I get to introduce these gentlemen. So I appreciate everything that the Martin Arts has done for me and being a great friend. And this is really something special that not every community has something like this. And what we're trying to do here is restore this building, make it a pillar in our community for generations to come, and it's the largest community arts focused exercise to date. So it's a great effort. We do encourage you to participate. We will allow for about 10 minutes towards the end of our panel for questions and answers. So if you have any questions, please hold them. Please don't shout them out. We will give you plenty of opportunity to share. If you have stories as well that you would like to contribute, feel free. But be mindful of the time that we have. Well, this is the first of 2 alumni panels. And then they also told me there was cake. So as much as I love seeing you all, I'm here for the cake. But before we get to that, so I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. Joe will take maybe 2 to 3 minutes, introduce yourself, and share really what's your family's connection to Martin County specifically, and then we're going to talk about this building. But we'll start at the end of the panel with Mr. John Litt.
Well, I grew up here. I was born in 1942, and I was in Palm City for the first 12 years of my life, and then we moved over to Stuart on 10th Street. And I went to elementary school in the back of this building up to the 6th grade, and then the 7th grade we started here. And I graduated in 1960. We had 89 boys in the top 3 grades. And we were the first class that ever graduated over 100 kids. We had 103.
So you made it the big city that we are today, huh? No, I'm kidding.
No, I could have stayed in a small city.
Well, sitting next to you is a good friend of mine, and also someone a stalwart in the real estate community, Mr. Dan Brady.
I'm Dan Brady. I was born here in 47. And it was a great place. I love being in this building again. So many good memories. But I went to college in Kentucky, but I always came back. In fact, I was just telling you, the first year I went to college, it was the first time I had seen snow. And one morning we went to class, it was 14 below. And I thought, I'll never do this again. So I went to spring term and 2 summer sessions and still finished at the same time everybody else did. So you learn, you adapt. But we've adapted here.
And there's still more to come.
Yep.
So, Mr. Boo, how did your family, tell us about your roots here in Martin County.
My grandmother, they came here in 1923 by Clark side of my mother's side, and they bought the Stuart Hotel in 25. And when I was born in 41, I grew up in the Stuart Hotel until she sold it. 46, I think.
Now, where's the Stuart Hotel in general?
At the bottom of the south side of the Roosevelt, right in that where the Roosevelt is. So first 20 years I lived right downtown Stuart. I mean, downtown. Now they call it Slumber Stuart. So I'm right downtown, and so I went to school here. They actually let me graduate barely. And I've just been here forever and never left. Nowhere for no time.
That's a true sign of love and passion. Is there any way we can close those doors? Wanted to have everyone be able to hear. And sitting next to me, I had the pleasure of sitting next to Mr. Dale Hudson.
Hi, I'm Dale. My family moved here from Okeechobee in 1933. started the banks here, which is now Seacoast. Plug. Anyway, I was born in 1934 in the old hospital before the big hospital was built. It was out by the, what we call the hospital pond. I'm a Parker baby. We used to have a retired priest go to St. Mary's, and his wife was named Myrna. And she was the nurse who was, when I was born. And I found that out a few years back. They're both gone now. But after I graduated from Mrs. Bozone's kindergarten out in Bessie Edition, they promoted me to the first grade here. And as Johnny said, there was 3 little buildings out back for the first 3 grades. And we started there. And my first grade teacher was Kitty Ford. Got him a second grade teacher was Boo's grandmother, Mrs. Harris Lowry, who we all love very much. And then the 3rd grade I forgot, 4th grade was Mrs. Richardson. On up to the 7th grade, we moved into this building. We had split classes and everything. And since then, they've renovated the building, put it in an elevator. We didn't have one of those. They raised this floor. We used to be an auditorium here. And we had all our assembly meetings and everything. But I went through all 12 grades here. They did allow me to graduate. Like Boo. We both told them Boo.
We showed them.
But it was a really think back on your youth. It's been a great time. We only had 29 people in my graduating class in 1952. There was only about 7 or 8 of us left. And there's a couple this year too. I try to keep in touch with all of them that I can. That's my story.
Well, you all have mentioned how special this place is, but any place is really special because of the people. Dan, can you tell us about some of the teachers who were pretty pivotal when you attended school here?
Mr. Epstein was my chemistry teacher, and he was really good. And he would dump a raw egg in milk and drink it every morning right in class, and we thought it was the grossest thing ever. But he was a good teacher. He demanded perfection, and because of that, I went got my minor in chemistry. I loved it. Absolutely.
So I had Mr. Epstein, and what I learned from him is when you smell something that's not good, you do it like this. And if they're dropping bombs on you, like during World War II, right? You never put your head on the ground because the ground would come up and knock you out. and he liked squirrels, and we used to go shoot squirrels and bring them to him.
And what would he do with these squirrels?
He'd eat them. He'd eat them.
Would he bring some in for you guys to eat?
No.
Okay.
He was from South Carolina. He said they raised more peaches in his county than they did in all of Georgia. I don't know if it's true, but that's what he said. So that's Mr. Epstein.
So how about you, Mr. Lane? Who's somebody that you remember, a teacher or two?
Boo's grandma was a 2nd grade teacher, and she had a rhythm band she played the piano. And we had sung the national anthem every morning, and then she'd have a prayer. She got us all off on the right foot.
And you, Mr. Hudson, who's one of your favorite teachers here?
My role model was Jack Smouse, Dr. Smouse, we call him, who became, he was an industrial arts teacher. And that's what I love, industrial arts, build things and everything. He became superintendent some years later after he retired from the actual school. But I had a lot of other teachers, Fanny Jackson, Lou Roth, Sarah Lou Roth's husband, mother. Back when we were, I think in the 7th grade, we had a principal named John Wick. And he called us into assembly one day, probably in this room, and says, "You 7th graders are going to graduate in a brand new high school built away from this campus." And of course, this was we graduated in '52 when this building wasn't. It was built, but we didn't graduate. But anyway, we never got that new school built until several years after we graduated. So I guess the preacher lied a little, superintendent lied a little bit to us, principal.
So in terms of part of school, in addition to the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, are some of your friends. Do you remember any interesting stories or times, or some of the people that you met here for the first time? So, for example, when I transitioned into high school, the freshmen, you're the low people on the totem pole, but you also are meeting people from all other schools. Who are some of your best friends when you guys were in school?
Johnny there, I met Johnny, I was in the second grade, he was in the first grade. Right back in here, it was in recess one time. And we've been buddies ever since, I think.
He can be there, but he didn't participate.
That's right.
Oh, okay. So if you guys were in the foot race back in first and second grade, who won? Because I know you guys
probably outran me.
Oh yeah. No, you pointing to him.
He's one of the best running backs we ever had.
Wow. So what other extracurricular activities or things that were school related but not necessarily classroom related that you enjoyed? Were there any field trips you went on that were great, or anything you remember from sports or any other clubs that you were involved in?
They used to let us out every time there was a space shot. We all went out and sat in the front lawn. We saw all of them, from John Glenn to Alan Shepard, all of them.
Right here,
Right sitting in the grass. It's fantastic.
Well, tell me this: your senior year. What was one of your favorite memories of your senior year? I'm gonna start with you, Mr. Bill. Besides walking across, actually making it.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess playing baseball. I used to play football. I don't like to tell all these stories, I got lots. But
we want to hear them. You see the room so
my
full.
best friend was the main quarterback. And we went around and Andy Pittman had a filling station down here, and he gave away 5 gallons of gas to whoever said the closest score to the game. So we went in there to get gas one day, and my buddy says, "Go get one of those little slips and fill it out." So I said, "Well, what do I put on there?" And we were going to play B-row, and he says, "B-row is going to win 21-17." Well, I put it down and put my name on it. So Monday morning, after they beat us, I don't know what the score was, coach called me in there and he says, I want to talk to you. And he says, "I'm not going to kick you off the team, but you'll never play." Because I was betting against our team. And so that's the last time I played football. But then it turned into more exciting stories that I can't tell.
Yeah, we'll keep it.
Yeah, Vero is the only high school that we didn't beat.
Vera.
They beat us.
They were always good.
So did you play football too?
Yep.
What position did you play?
Linebacker.
Linebacker. All right. So what's the nickname? What was his nickname? What do they call
Boot Gator.
him? What do you call him?
Boot Gator.
Boot Gator?
Boot Gator, not me.
No. Why they call you Boot Gator?
Coach Rowell was giving us swimming lessons out of the riptide, and he said I swam like an alligator. I was dog paddle, so he called me Blue Gator.
So tell us about some of the changes, Mr. Hudson, that you've seen with this building specifically.
Everything. Well, going back to you, yes, who was one of my people that met from another school. We only had several schools, Stuart here,
Right.
had the elementary and the high school, Fort Sorno, Jensen Beach, I think in Indiantown probably had a school, but anyway, in the Jensen Beach school, they only went up to the 6th grade. In the 7th grade, I had what turned out to be my best friend, Al Henry. Many of you know him, and he's deceased now. And we became very close friends for the rest of our lives. gone now. But I also played football back for 3 or 4 years. And then my junior year, we were playing Coco, and I got knee in the back and they broke some bones in my back, so they took me to the hospital and put me in a cast from year to year to take my weight off of my backbone. And I had to wear that, of course, during the kind of the winter months, so you didn't get too itchy. And when I got to take it off, I went down to the Stuart Hotel, or Stuart drugstore, and met Dr. Parker there, who was our local doctor and our team doctor. And he cut my cast off. And of course, when I cut it off, he broke it off like a big turtle shell. I kind of folded up like a rubber band because I had no weight on my backbone, for 6 weeks or so. And, I was sure glad to get that off, although I used to drive my hunting buggy Model A with that thing, and I go like this. Went out on dates there, he never slowed me down or anything. It was a lot of fun. And the next year I went back and played football, my senior year. So, one of the funniest things I remember in this building, on that stairway.
This one here.
Yeah, on the stairway, but one of my classmates, Bobby Longbottom, his father was a barber downtown with Mr. Bozon. He was going up and down the stairs, and they didn't have carpet, wooden stairs, and clunk, 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 clunk. He was making a ruckus. And we had a teacher, Mrs. Roth, Mrs. I can't remember her name right now. Anyway, she had this big old pocketbook made out of wood slats. And she said, Bobby, you slow down and be quiet and all that, and he wouldn't do it, so she whacked him and he fell down. I never will forget that.
And he probably walked everywhere he went ever since. Tell us a little bit more about what, so what other activities happen here? So, for example, you shared, Spring, that everybody come out front here. And when you were here, Ms. Lane, you said there was less than, you said there was 100 kids that graduated in your class?
103.
So what was lunchtime like? Tell me about lunchtime.
Well, lunchtime was across the street at the cafeteria. When we was in the elementary school, the basement used to be the cafeteria.
Okay.
And I think it was $1.25 a week for lunch. And then they had Mr. Marco, which was the custodian. He used to have the ice cream window there. I think you'd get ice cream for about a nickel a cone, if I remember right. The elementary would go first, and then the older kids, high school would be after us.
And then where was graduation? Did you graduate?
We graduated on the football field.
Okay. And now, when you all, after you graduated, kind of tell us where you went next. Now, you told us that you went to Kentucky. Where in Kentucky and why there?
Actually, I got, there were 7 of us supposed to go to Cumberland College and start football.
Okay.
And by the time summer came around, the other 6 got drafted. And I didn't, because I, like you, Dale, I broke my back playing football. And I've had 5 back surgery since. And, but I went up there to play, and I was the only one that went. It was, and all the men got drafted back then. So there was 8 girls and 1 boy at Cumberland College. It was a wonderful time.
So we'll get off that subject. Where did you end up going after high school?
I tried to go to college, but they didn't like me there. So I came back and went to work for Southeastern Printing down there, and I'd had a instructor, Don Smith, same one that he was my favorite. He taught me drafting really good, and I got a really good job at Southeastern for $1 an hour.
$1 an hour?
Yeah. And then when they started to put the man on the moon, Pratt Whitney, we did all the work for Pratt Whitney, everything they printed. And there was no copy machines back then. And no matter if it was 2 pages or 100, you had to come through and go through, they set it on the linotype, you know, and then photograph it. And I worked up in that department. I worked there for 9 years. And I'd also worked for Jackie Hodap as a carpenter, you know, all this time. I'd been actually doing that since 1950 with my uncle. And so I decided I wanted to be a contractor or a carpenter. So I did that, and I quit down there after 9 years to the day I worked there. And went to work for Ricky Sands Construction for about 3 months. But funny thing is, I had to go, they were union, and I had to start as an apprentice, which I had all my tools. So I only could work there about, I think I worked 3 months, and I couldn't afford it anymore because I was used to overtime. I'd work 30 hours, 40 hours overtime a week at the print shop. So I did real good there because of mainly Pratt Whitney, all their stuff. And everything was a rush job, no matter what. So then I became a contractor in 1970. I got my license. Peter Jefferson was the architect here. And I always liked doing things out of wood because I'd always learned from doing framework. And so I wanted to bid on one of Peter's jobs, and he said, well, what have you ever built? And I'd been working in the country club, and we were building houses down there. And he said, well, those are just ice cream boxes. I said, what have you ever really built? So he wouldn't let me build one. So I decided the only way I'm going to get to show him is I bought a lot on High Point. They were pretty cheap back then. And I hired Peter to draw my plans. So that's how I got started with Peter. Hiring him to let me draw. So then I built a few of his houses.
Was that the Walgreens house or what?
That was Dr. Lancaster.
I promise we'll have question and answer. So after high school, Hudson, where did you end up going?
Well, during the summer, I went to work for the bank, which I did every summer between college terms. And 4 or 5 of us, big buddies, Al Henry, that Phil had mentioned, Ron Nelson. It was Ronnie come lately. He only got here in the senior year. Came in from Nebraska. And Buddy Hayes, we all went to University of Florida. Gators, right? And of course, I spent a couple of years there. And the Navy decided they wanted me to go on active duty, so I went aboard the battleship New Jersey for a couple of years and stayed in reserves. And I came back and went to work with the bank since 1957, straight through.
So Mr. Lynn, how about yourself? So after high school?
I went to IRCC first year, and I got the job of being the bus driver from here up there. Got big money of $50 a month.
All right.
And I didn't care for college, and I've always wanted to be in the flower business, so I got flower business. I was in that for 38 years.
All here in Martin County.
Here in Martin County. I started working for Schramm's Flowers in my 7th grade, I think. I was about 12 years old. I worked with them until I got out of high school. And then went to 1-year junior college and decided I wanted to make money.
Well, I know that flowers was a major industry for Martin County for a very, very long time. And it's kind of, in some ways, part of our backbone as to who we are. But as we've told some great stories of our past, let's look towards our future. So I'm going to give everyone a chance to think here. But my next question is going to be about what would you like to see here at the historic Stuart High School, in this building, in this space. And I know the Arts Foundation has put out a great vision for us to where this is truly a home for the arts. But I'd also like to hear from you all, having really had very fond memories. It seems like you all have kind of been in this building since you maybe 7, 8 years old, some of you, you know? So what would you like to see in regards to the future at this building? I'll start with you, Scott, and then we'll go back.
Well, I think the Martin County Council of Arts have a great plan for the future of this building. I can't really add too much to it other than to hope to make it, hope we can contribute in any way we can, all of us here. It's gonna be, like I said, a long-term lease, so put your money where your mouth is and let's get her going.
And then you spoke. What would you hope for the future of this building?
Well, the same as Dale said about the same thing. We go up to North Carolina a lot, and Franklin, North Carolina, they had an old school that went out that got too small. And that's a small county, and they turned that old school, all the grounds into an arts place there, and they have, in the grounds, they have festivals out there and everything. So if they can do it, why can't they do it here?
Here. Right.
I think Nancy's got a great plan. I'm fortunate to be on the construction committee for the building, and
Can you tell us a bit more about those details?
well, they're fluid. You know, they keep changing. The more changes we make, the more changes we have to make. And, but it's pretty extensive. The one thing I told Nancy from the very beginning, the one thing I wanted her to do was tear those 2 buildings down in front, because I hated those buildings. And they don't match the architecture of the building. But sure enough, she's gonna keep it.
How about you, Mr. Lady?
Well, I'm like Boo with Dale down there, you know, whatever we can do for the community and the arts, push it as hard as we can. Because there's a lot of history here that we brought back out.
When I have a friend of mine, we joke around sometimes about this country's still a very young country, all things considered. And there's so much that still has to be kept for future generations. So the opportunity that we have here truly is great. And can you tell me, now I take it many of you may have grandchildren still in the area, or other family members that are still in the area. What, if you could come back 100 years from now, and you're easy now, and we're still able to preserve this. We have another generation of people continuing in this cause of preserving the greatness of Martin County. How would that make you feel to know that what we started today could potentially last 100 years? Can you tell us about what that means in terms of the grand scale of the contribution that we might be able to do together? I know, it's kind of heavy. But it's truly something special we're trying to do, and really keeping a legacy for many of us. So I know something, it still as a newbie, for all intents and purposes, I know it would make me feel great to know that we planted seeds today, that our grandchildren's grandchildren, for all intents and purposes, are still able to enjoy and to participate. I know that's how it would make me feel. But don't all jump on the mic.
Well, I think to get into the future, you always have to look where you've been. And you bring how you grew up, and you teach the new people how to act, how to treat each other. I hope this place is here in 100 years. I know I won't be. I hope. I told somebody this morning, I saw them for the first time since you graduated. That was 55 years ago. I said, I hope I see you again in another 55 years. And I hope we still recognize each other. But I think it's you always have to bring with you what you've learned. And that's what we're doing here.
Well, I don't, 100 years seem like a lot, but the old house I live in is 122 years old. And I'm used to fixing up old stuff. Stuff is junk we keep, and junk is stuff we throw away. So, I think that in 100 years, it could be just like it is, what they're gonna do to it. I mean, it seemed like a long time, but, so many of these old houses are still here that are almost that. I didn't see them that time, but, I worked on them and fixed them up. So that's 100 years is really not that long.
So at this time, we have about 10 to 15 minutes. Are there any questions? If you have a question, we are recording. I would ask you, once I call on you, please stand up, tell us your name, and then direct the question to the panel. But does anyone have a question? If you please stand up, tell us your name, and then.
My name is Debbie Clark, and I'm very happy to be here. So, years ago, I was on the board at Alumni, Possum Lawn property. So, were you all there when Possum Lawn was the coach, and is that the coach you're talking about, or do you have any stories about him at all? Yeah, the only thing I know is what I read, and so it's very interesting to hear, a real life story from real life people.
I think I can answer that, probably who. Possum was an ag teacher who was not a coach.
Oh, I thought he was a coach.
And he had after he finished school, he had a little nursery out there where the nature tree lives now. And he drove an old Mercury 4-door sedan. And I used to have to walk from St. Lucie Estates to school, or ride my bike. And one day I didn't have my bike, and he picked me up, took me home. But they called him Possum because he was in the agriculture building and teaching classes, and he would kind of think you'd fall asleep. And he was watching everybody, they didn't know it. He was named Possum. He was really a great person, really.
So he was never a coach?
Never a coach.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I remember, no.
I didn't read my history well.
Okay.
Thank you.
But Possum had a hearing aid, he couldn't hear.
Right.
He had one of those very big ones, and then, I wasn't in his class, but I know they would just say, like, get him to turn that thing wide open.
So kids are kids then and now, right? Now we're here. But great question, great question.
Possum talked to my dad, and he told all the kids in the class, he says, if you got a nickel invested in land, he says, it's gonna be there, you can use it to mortgage to buy other land, but buy land, don't play the stock market, it can be controlled by other people. And my dad took him to heart.
He was right.
I saw a hand in the back. You can stand up, please. Tell us who you are and your question.
Rosalind Nealon. My question is, did you ever interact with any people of color while you were in school?
So the question is, did you ever interact with people of color while you were in school? Because you all would have seen the integration of this school, or at least been in the community at that time. So what was the climate like between minorities and everyone else in Martin County?
Well, there wasn't anything bad that I know of. And we would play football out here. And it seemed like all the colored sat on the west side, and the white people sat on the east side to watch those games. And they were really, really good. But the only thing I see wrong was they never had good equipment.
Right.
They got everything that Stuart threw out, even the uniform. They would come out with different colored jerseys and helmets, and everything was left over. But they had more fun playing than any white kid ever played. They would come out of the huddle and do somersault up on the line. I mean, it was really great. Never missed a game.
There was no tension between the whites and blacks ever. They were friends.
Why do you think that was the case?
Because we weren't racist. We weren't raised that way. And we treated people with respect, especially in the South. You learn how to treat people with respect. just gripping.
Yeah, those days, we were naturally segregated schools. This is the white school, and the Stuart Training School was in the back on the other side of the football field. But there was one black guy who really got along good, named Walter Oden.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Walter, on weekends, would go down and shine shoes for Eddie Falconer and Jolly Boson barber shop. And he was a jolly good guy. And he'd play football, and he was a center or something. He'd come out and he'd do the flip and then land on the ball to hike it to the quarterback or whatever. But we all got along great. It was a wonderful time. And we didn't even think there was a difference between the blacks and whites, other than that's what we grew up with. We didn't have control, and thank God it's changed now. But Walter was well liked by all of our students here in Martin County, or Stuart High School those days.
He had a radio show, I think.
Yeah, in Cherokee,
Yeah.
He got a PhD.
WSTU.
He got a PhD.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Miami.
And he taught down there too, somewhere.
And two of our best city policemen were black. Yeah, we call it sneaking. Sergeant Hall. Never said much, he'd sneak up on you. And Leroy Washington. He was lieutenant under Jesse Taylor.
I told Leroy Washington, he used to come in the bank with us. He was a policeman at that time. Says, Leroy, when you retire from the police force, I want to hire you as a guard or something here in our bank. So that showed good terms there.
Yeah.
They were great. Both those guys were
Great
great.
guys.
Are there any other questions or stories or thoughts from the audience? Yes, please stand up, let us know your name.
I'm Julie Priest, and I do historic research as a volunteer, and I anticipate working on the nomination for listing this building on the National Register. Could each of you describe what you remember of each floor as far as the interior? The exterior obviously has remained pretty much the same, but the interior, for instance, I just heard, which was wonderful, the basement floor was a cafeteria. If you could just tell me, would you say 2/3 of it was cafeteria, 1/3 of it might have been kitchen? Just whatever details you remember about the actual interior architecture of the floors. Thank you.
Well, I'm younger than these three. So when I went to school here, it was the principal's office downstairs and Jack Smouse's office, he was assistant principal. And then the rest was offices. And then you had the school bookstore was over here, the school supply store was over here. And this was a beautiful auditorium in here. It was just beautiful.
Is this all that's left of the auditorium?
They raised the floor.
They raised the floor in here. You don't recognize it now. They put this drop ceiling in.
Yeah.
So we'll let everyone share that, and then we'll promise to come back. So you remember it as the cafeteria. How much of it was kitchen space or anything like that, or was it all just a hall where everybody ate?
No, it was a big room, and you came through like a cafeteria style and got your meal, and then you went to another, well, it wasn't another, it was all one room, but they had a small partition in there, and then that's where you ate your lunch. There was like Danny said, there's a principal's office, and then Jack Mouse had a dean of boys office, and Peggy Bonds had the dean of girls, and then on the west side over here, there's an area probably about as big as this space over there. There was a mechanical drawing room. Jack's Mouse was a mechanical drawing. And then years ago, the chemistry room, I think, was down there.
You know, ours was out in those nasty buildings up there.
Oh,
So how about you, sir?
Well, I'm listening to Johnny, but in 1 year, they must have really changed this place around.
yeah.
I remember the cafeteria downstairs, they probably took 2/3 up. And there was a couple, Mr. Reptine was in a room down there. And downstairs, and then Mr. Gray, principal, was over on that side of the hallway. And I'm not sure what was at the other end. On the other, and then this was auditorium, but I think they added all this here because this place was a lot bigger than this.
The stage was bigger.
Yeah, either they added this part,
That's all.
and then there was a big stage here, but
Right.
it went on a angle down here. And I always remember when Buddy Holly died, I was sitting right over the front of the chair. Remember the day the music died? Yeah, right where I was sitting here.
Well, what about,
And then upstairs,
Yeah.
the library was in the middle.
The libraries of that.
I think there was a couple, all rooms, school rooms up here. And on that side was, yeah, other one, different ones here. But you didn't have air conditioning then, so
Okay.
they've changed all this to put air conditioning. They used to have little windows, transom windows, and that you would open it, and the air would all go out. And they had, there were two big areas on each side. I guess that was to let the air out. Because they didn't have elevators then. And that's about all I can remember, but they changed it around. But they used to have wood stoves at one time.
Wood stoves?
Wood stoves in all the rooms. And then they changed them to kerosene. And then the kerosene, the floor was soaked with all around because there were wood floors with kerosene.
Uh-oh.
So if they had a fire, this place would have burned really good.
Well, what do you remember? in
I
terms of
remember everything these guys are talking about. On the bottom floor was the cafeteria. Back in that corner was the principal's office. And as you know, the bottom floor is kind of 6 feet under earth. And a lot of the guys that play pranks on the principal, and there was windows there, and they'd put a hose there overnight, and
Uh-oh.
slowly go in there. Come the next morning, full of water.
Oh, my God.
But anyway, they had most of it was cafeteria, and Mrs. Boyd was the chief cook. And she always served us green beans, which we hated. Get your green beans. And that corner over there was a chemistry and biology class.
On the bottom floor.
Yeah, on the bottom floor. On the second floor, over here was the 5th grade, and that corner was the 6th grade, Mrs. Urick. Mr. Roman Ella was over there. Those two built buildings there, they were here, that's where the dressing rooms were for the class plays, when we did a class play. Seniors always had to do a senior play. We did 1 Foot in Heaven. We'll forget that.
This floor's been raised up.
This has been raised up.
There used to be a stage here, it's about 4 foot off the ground.
So,
Still are.
you had a question.
No, but there are about half the people here. I think, raise your hand if you went to school here.
We've already done
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Karen Barnes. Apropos of the fact that we're going to be turning this into an art center, or a raison d'etre, did all of you have art and music when you attended the schools here? And if you did have it in the school system, were any of you participants?
No, we play football.
But great question, great question. I saw a hand somewhere on this side. Yes, please. Please stand up, state your name, please.
Hello, I'm Katie Jacobson. Did Stuart High School have a mascot?
Ooh, Stuart High School mascot.
Tiger.
The Tigers. So do you know why? I've always wondered why is it called the Tigers? There's not a lot of tigers running around here. Okay. And I saw some hands on this side of the room. Yes, sir?
I'm Jan Isida. When I was here, there was the smallest, smelliest little gym over on the side. Because they used to hang the football uniforms in the gym, and they would never wash them. And they played basketball in there, and then sometimes we had auditorium type stuff where people would put on demonstrations and stuff. But I remember that the court was so small that the teams would have to go across half court, come back across half court, and then be able to play basketball.
Wow. Sir, did you have a question?
I just remember a few
Stand
things.
up. Tell us your name.
I'm Ray Rice, and I came here in '61, which was from upstate New York, only because I wanted to be with my mother at that time. When I came here, you talked earlier about segregation, and I remember going to the courthouse and upstairs to the courtroom and the halls of justice, and outside the courtroom was 2 water fountains. One was white only and the other was colored. I had to taste them both because I had never tasted colored water. And I remember this building, and many times I visited Jack Smouth's office. And the gymnasium, art class was in one of the smaller buildings out there, as well as shop class. Olney Urett was the librarian upstairs, sweetest lady you would ever want to know. And she was also the librarian when we moved to the high school. Art class, I think, was the first class to graduate from the high school on Canner Highway.
64 was.
64
No.
was.
You didn't go all year here.
It was about
We,
half.
we went all year
Can
at the
you-
new school.
It was half and half.
Can you,
Next five.
Can you stand up and state your name and?
I'm Teresa Kruger Woolslegel, and I live on Kruger Creek. And my grandfather came here from Germany in 1800s, and that was known as Burnbrae Plantation, because it was a pineapple plantation. But I remember, I've got to put my 2 cents
Please
in
do,
after Ray.
please do.
Because I remember coming in this auditorium, and when I was little, it looked so much bigger. And there was a lady that came in about once a month with Bible stories.
Yes.
And she would put the paper figurines on a backboard and tell the little kids Christmas and Bible stories.
Those are felt cutouts.
Yeah.
So we have about another 10 minutes or so left in our panel. I wanted to give each of you maybe 2-3 minutes and just any questions that I may not have asked or any stories you'd like to tell or kind of in your closing remarks, just 2-3 minutes here. Anything that's kind of sum up our conversation and what we're trying to do here. Who wants to be brave and go first?
Oh, well. Our class of '52, we didn't have those 2 buildings out front. And on that far side, there was a flagpole where the American flag was raised every day. And we wanted to piss off our principal, Mr. Gray. So the girls in the home ec class, which used to be in the buildings back, made a great big class flag. Had our motto, onward ever, backward never, had our school colors on it. So one morning early, before the American flag got raised, we all assembled out on the benches out in the walkway. We got Buddy Hayes, who was in the band, played the trumpet. And he would always play the trumpet when the flag was raised out of respect. So we raised that flag with him playing the trumpet. And Mr. Gray just had a fit. And I still have that big flag the girls made, which we'll take to our reunions when we haven't had one for a couple of years now. But that was kind of a fun time that we pulled on Mr. Gray.
I remember it was so hot up on the 3rd floor in May. It was 90 degrees. It's all you do to stay awake in English or math class. But we were kind of that nostalgic too, so we really didn't want to move to the new school. We wanted to graduate from here. And it was so funny because we started out there in the middle of August in the new school, which is built on the county dump. And it was air conditioned. And after the first couple of days, we never said another word about it.
Modern marvels.
Modern marvels.
Talking about the old gym, I spent a lot of time there because I played quite a bit of sports. And football uniforms, we'd hang them on the up above the bleachers and big nails. And you'd come back Friday, and Monday, your uniforms for the next day would be like this, with sand spurs and sand on it, you know. We're lucky if we had hot water on Friday nights after a game. Most of the time it was a cold shower during the week.
Wow.
Especially in Okeechobee, they never had hot water.
No.
You know, one thing we haven't mentioned is the log cabin.
Yeah.
Which used to be over there where the middle school is now. And now up in Francis Langford Park up in Rio, they took it apart, redid it. Les Combs, the radio owner at the STU. But after the football games on Friday here, we'd have the dance over there. Boys, and they had their Boy Scout meetings there too.
Got somebody in the back.
I'm Nancy Melrose, and I remember the log cabin because I was in the band. And they used to bring us back from the new high school back over here to practice. And then we had the football field right out here where we were able to go out and practice there too. And that's where we had all the games because they moved everybody back here. We didn't have a football field out there. So the log cabin has a real special place in my heart too. I was a flute player and I was a majorette for 4 years. So it was fun.
I want to give yourself a chance to kind of give some closing remarks here before we wrap it up.
We're talking about that gymnasium. The end of it was only, I think, 2 foot. When they played basketball,
Right.
where the wall was.
Yeah.
They could have had mats on there. But during Halloween, the PTA used to, underneath one hole go over the bleachers, they would have a haunted house. And my grandmother ran, the inn, and they hang things all down in there to scare you. And some of my buddies and I, we think it cost a nickel to go in. We'd go in there and hide, and then we would grab people. And then we'd have to run out the other end like,
Nothing happened.
yeah, because they'd come in there looking with lights to see what was
I'm sure we spend much more time with this panel, sharing more stories. And gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you all stay and enjoy the next panel and also the cake. Like I said, there's cake. And there's cake. and then after that, we will have another panel of alumnus. And I just want to say thank you again for all of you all sharing your stories and being kind. And I was a little nervous here, so you guys made it very easy for me. So hopefully the next panel will do a little better job. But thank you all for your support and supporting the arts here. And truly, we are involved in one of the largest projects that this community has undertaken ever. And we are going to need everyone's help. And these stories need to be told, again, 100 years from now. That's what we'd like to continue. And as a part of our storytelling, we have an exhibit. You go out these doors, and then you head this way. There's an exhibit. You can see some kind of the past and the future. We also have, there's I believe a slideshow on this side of the building. There's some refreshments. Please stay, enjoy yourselves. Get to know each other as well, and please tell some stories. We also are signing up for tours. If you would like to have a tour of the facility, they're in the back, against the back wall. You can sign up. There's some dates and times situated there. If those don't work for you, contact Nancy or some of the staff here with Martin Arts. They can organize that. And also, so at 1 p.m., please stay or come back. We will meet Sandy Thurlow, Don Armstrong Jr., and Alicia Weber, who will share some insights about the architecture and the historic building here. And then again, like I said, at 2:30 p.m., we'll have another distinguished group of panelists, alumni of this space and this community. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this. And please, let's give a round of applause to our panelists.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite our wonderful panel members members, Ben, and any of you in the audience who are alumni, if you could join us just outside of the front doors, we would love to get a photo of you all together.
Good.
Could I ask you, when you take the photograph, to ask all of the former students if they have any photographs from those years, either from the interior or exterior, where even if they were...
Absolutely, I would love that.
To please share them with your office, and we can scan those and return them.
Absolutely, that's a wonderful idea. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm living on Sewell